Skype.
Yeah, there you go. It is streaming. My computer just tells me it's not.
It's a liar.
How about that? So there you go. That was the intro to the show, Adam.
Oh my gosh, we don't have a cornfield photo to back it up.
And Nick, go check YouTube.
Why? Is that on? You can. So obviously you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
And we just see you pounding a beer.
I'm drinking the same exact beer, like the same bottle. I just drink it every week
for like 3 weeks now.
Yeah, it's kind of funky.
I'm gonna join you then.
There you go.
So what are you drinking?
IPA, Pine Drops, nothing but the best.
The bestest.
But I do enjoy a midweek, but you have to get a 6-pack. That puts a whole edge on, like, oh, later I have to get a 6-pack to be, in continuity with the show. So
see, so many people.
It was fantastic concept.
That's what I told. I'm like, I'm gonna make an ad that just says, "Please watch the show because we need to have a valid reason to drink every Tuesday." So if there's an audience, then we have to do it every week.
Oh man.
It's an obligation.
I don't know the reason, but there's less shame when I say I'm on a podcast.
Has anybody not drank while being
on
a
bunch of people.
So what are you on, number 28 or 29?
You're 25?
Yes.
Who didn't? Miles drank with us. Mason didn't.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually amazing. That's kind of cool on its own, actually.
Is it? I felt like we missed.
I don't know. Like, I'm on Facebook friends with him, and basically every shot he has a drink. So the fact he held out was maybe just to be original. I don't know.
That's true. So anyway, we are with Adam Barker, and you did most notably in the motocross community, Fresno Smooth.
Yes. That was, what year was that? 1998? 99? Something like that. Yeah. And that was insane for me because I had gone to college and I got accepted to film school, and my dad said, no, you're going to go to something that's going to give you a future, so you're going for advertising. I was so pissed off that I spent, in my college, I was like, had all these people in the dorms, and I still had to send me to like be a filmmaker, to make some funny stuff. And I, filmed a movie in college, just a total kind of stoner comedy with a VHS camera, had no idea what I was doing, spent a whole year making it and editing it, and had a premiere, and the guys from Fox Racing went to the premiere. And so the day it premiered, and it did good at the school. I mean, it blew up. Everybody had seen us running around with wigs, and they're like, "What the hell is this?" And we had all the football dudes in there, and I had pro skaters like Louis Barletta was in it, and all these everybody crazy was in it, and we had a full plot and everything, and we had this premiere, and in the Fox, I was ready to cut my hair. At that point, go ahead.
What college were you going to?
San Jose State.
Okay, so and now all these
advertising, which I'm doing now, but at the time.
So how did you know? How did you know all of the skateboarders and stuff?
They went to Louis. Well, I grew up in Del Mar, and that's what I was into was skateboarding. I used to make a zine, and that's what I was obsessed with. But in my dorms, just before he really blew up, was Louis Barletta, and we were just friends because he was a freak, And so, he was in it, and just basically anybody that was a character that I could spot on campus. It was a huge ensemble cast. Awesome. So by the time we got to this premiere, everybody knew somebody that was in it, and there were so many question marks, just like, what is this? Right. What is this damn thing?
Everybody running around.
Cue balls, a bitch slap a soul, and they put it in the school newspaper. And our premiere, just blew up. I mean, it was packed, and everybody was hammered, and it was like a huge hit. And the guys from Fox were there, and Greg Fox called me into his office the next week, and he's like, "Hey, this movie Krusty 1 just came out. I didn't know anything about Moto for the most part. I mean, I knew who McGrath was and Emig, but I knew the very minimal. I was really into skating, surfing, and snowboarding. I knew of motocross, but I just wasn't a diehard. And they said, that's perfect, because what these guys have done is, with this Krusty movie, really made something that's got that kind of snowboard feel, and it's really caused a lot of. Basically, Fox was at that time 100% family company, really race driven, and they really didn't know what to do with the popularity of Krusty.
Right.
And so I really just hit it at the exact right time, and they just brought me in, and they're like, "We want to make something crazy, and we want to make this side company called Shift. Nobody will know that Fox owns it, and let's make a project." And so I pitched them, let's just make a full on movie, white trash, fun. We'll get everybody to cameo from every industry, but we'll star the two Shift guys, which was at that time Jeff Emig and Seth Enslow, and then we just loved Metzger, who was Fox Racing at the time. And so he became the third, and then just whoever else was around, basically.
Awesome.
So that's cool.
Originally, they were, because I know that I got the Fox catalog that year and tried to order it that day, and they were like, "It's discontinued," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, it literally, I just walked in from the mailbox with this catalog, and that was it. They wouldn't say anything else.
It was a nightmare because, okay, here's there's so many rumors about this, but whatever you want to know, I know exactly what happened. First of all, Greg Fox was one of the sons that really was the one that put this thing on the map, really supported taking the company to an FMX route, really supported, the start of Shift and everything like that, and supported this movie throughout. The problem was Shift started off with a Morgan Hill address. It was this little secret test. They were going to make this company that was way more party-oriented than Fox, which the dad had started, and, just see what let rip. Unfortunately, in that time was a real bad time for FMX. It was they had so much heat because they were getting a little bit of popularity. So there's a real, battle between, trying to push them out, and people realized that Fox owned Shift, and Fresno Smooth had started all this, talk and is X-rated and, blah, 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 that it just became a nightmare for the company.
Well, and you got the national champion at the time, Jeff Emig, in the movie with his mechanic.
Yeah, Dave Hunt. Jeremy Aldrich.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm watching this this is amazing that he pulled this off.
Well, that was before and it was a little bit of a slice of history that won't be repeated. It was Emig was the party pro. McGrath at the time was also kind of the party pro, but it hadn't blown up yet. It blew up, I think there was a Havasu episode with Emig, and then the whole kind of FMX Krusty party thing sort of blew up, and there was a real line in the sand. You either take it serious in your race or you do freestyle. And we kind of skated right in the middle of that while we were filming, and then by the time it came out, there was a defined line in the sand, and it was really difficult for Fox to support it while not risking their bread and butter of families that love Fox boots and etc. So I never felt and they were very transparent with me, and they were very down to. They liked it, I mean, the dad might not have, but Greg and Pete and John and the brothers were all 100% supportive, and they loved it, and they fed me ideas, and they were at the premiere. But yeah, by the end, it sort of became a PR nightmare for all of us.
I'm sure.
And it didn't. The first few years of that release were very slow and people didn't know what to do with it. It wasn't quite mainstream, and it was too aggressive for moto shops. It just sort of was this bad experiment, I think you could say. And it took a while. It took about 5 years. I think I was doing M80, and at that point, I was never even mentioning Fresno Smooth. And sort of the up and coming people would always be talking about it. So I think it had to skip a bit of a generation, and then I think it was just so OG with so many people in it, and such a kind of time machine that it just sort of started growing more and more into this cult kind of thing. So.
Well, I think that, like you said, you hit it at the time when, right as those two worlds were still the same. Even a couple of years after that, think about it, like, freestyle riders are freestyle riders. They don't race, for the most part. You can get a little bit of free ride footage with racers, but I'm sure at that time even factories were looking down on them.
Hugely.
Yeah.
Most of those guys actually came from quote unquote failed racers. I mean, you go Feist, Hart, and I mean quote unquote. They were all good, but they weren't. That privateer thing was brutal, and I think that added to it as well. As it wasn't its own sport. It was sort of this kind of.
Well, yeah, that's how I raced first. Nick raced. Like, that's people our age. You don't have until younger than us, quite a bit younger than us, where they didn't race at all. They just got dirt bikes and were like, I want to jump big, ramps and do tricks.
And then those guys were clowned by the now established FMX guys because they were the ramp kids.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And that whole thing, but it was, you could actually grow up and you could aim to do freestyle and possibly make some money. So it was like starting to kind of turn.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so like you mentioned M80, that's actually how I know you.
Yeah.
We did a bunch of segments for you. I remember Kyle was filming my first video, and he says, hey, he goes, I found this ad for extreme sports footage for a Fox TV show. And I was like, all right. So he submitted footage to you, and you were like, hey, they're actually pretty good. Like, what's up or whatever. And then you offered him some segments if I would do something or somebody would do something like a world first.
I don't remember that exactly like that, but we were doing, I think that was about M80 season 2, and I just liked Kyle right away, and he was from BMX, and I remember our first meeting, and he was all prepared for, like, wearing his collared shirt for, like, an interview, and I just talked with him the whole time, and I didn't even care. I was like, he's cool, and at that point, I wanted to start not doing every segment myself, and so I think he was, like, one of the first people that I sort of just said, here's, follow the format and go do it, and I don't even think I actually met you face to face for a few more years, but he always worked with you. And what I liked about you and like Parsons is you had all these ideas to do like trippy stuff. And I was like, yeah, just, it doesn't even, everybody was doing ramp to dirt landing and about the same tricks. And so we were always looking for what else can we film that's cool or different or an attempt, or it doesn't even have to be polished. Just like who is thinking outside the box. And so, and I can't even remember what you had pegs. Or
that was Kyle's idea. That was Kyle's. So that's what he told me. He goes, no. So he said that we need to do we can get so many segments, but we got to do a world's first. And I was like, oh, yeah? And he goes, well, I had an idea. How about pegs? And I was like, I mean, I don't know. That sounds as doable as any of them, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't want to have to jump like 300 feet, so fuck it.
We were just going for anything unique at the time, but I think he was probably playing us off each other.
Sounds like it.
Whatever. It was a good segment, though. I mean, I liked it.
Yeah. No, it was, I think you could, I've seen some people do it, but I think they need to build an obstacle you could frame slide like a big PVC pipe or something. And I've like slid some logs and stuff. I think you could do it, but I don't ride enough to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it just is like it was in that early enough time that it was like there was people experimenting with electric bikes. Like Chuck had some kind of piece of that. Somebody who tried to do a bar spin. That thing was a horrible nightmare. But just there was a lot of people trying new things, and so we tried to at least make small segments on anybody going for it, because you never know. And then like Parsons quarter pipe, that truly came from just, and
that's
that
something
was the first
now.
time anybody said, I mean, that I know of. I know nobody did it before us, but that was Parsons came to me, this dude, I want to carve out a mountain, make a big BMX quarter pipe, be able to hit it and come back in. And we went to Dane Heron, who was working with Red Bull, and they approved it on the spot, and they gave us a budget. We carved out a mountain. Of course, Renner comes, and he was just the king of that style. And then that's kind of blown up. But that, again, just started from an idea that could have just been stupid or one day in an attempt. But,
No, that works. And that's something now. And I mean, you gotta give it to him. He, you know what I mean, came up with the idea and made it happen. So, along with you.
Yeah, I mean, no, it was 100% his idea. I facilitated it. But he also was super on the wall ride. He had a lot of BMX influence. Parsons. I think that was sort of debatable. I think Jesse Olsen, if you remember that guy, he was sort of simultaneously going for it, so it was sort of a debate, but it was very close. Those two both kind of hit that thing up about the same time.
His Olsen's Park, his course, like back in the day, in some of those segments was awesome with the fun boxes and stuff, and
I love that dude. He disappeared. You should call him up and see what's up. But
I should.
He was good. He was pulling foam pit 360s right at the heart of it, right when they were very first happening, and he did them with style. Like, he was a really good rider, but I think he had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, you know what? You got to give props to anybody that rides like Adam Jones. That dude's still at a super high level, and he's 20 years into it, just about riding. Like, that's a lot of stress to deal with, having to ride at your absolute highest level all the time. You got to be like super mentally strong. Any of those guys that don't, that can just do that all the time. They're like, this is what I do. I throw whatever, front flips, double flips. How about Levi throwing double flips this year? Like,
unbelievable. Like, it's nothing. Yeah, Adam Jones is awesome. And he's the funniest person to be Facebook friends with, because we had a similar situation with our exes, but he does not hold back. You know what's in that dude's mind. Sometimes I'm like, whoa, a little too much info, but like, he just lets it rip. But I love that guy, man.
I'm like, this can't be helped in custody.
And the tricks that he brought to the table, and there was a time when he had that like momentum of like, shoot, what was it? It wasn't a cliffhanger backflip. He did some. What was his first one? It was like just
probably a bar hop or something.
Touch. Cliffhanger, I think, was Bilko. It was what did he do?
Like the dead body flip?
Yeah, it was. That was exactly it.
Yeah, that's fucking huge.
Yeah, and he did it. He's been solid for so many years.
Yeah,
and just doesn't crash that much, like Mason. There's some of those guys that are just in Miles, as we talked about the other day. They just know that timing so well. St. Mars was like that as well, until of course he finally broke his back. But there's some of those guys could just time everything so perfectly.
And that's like a Berlou. I call Berlou your favorite rider's favorite rider, because like everybody in the sport knows that he's a bad dude and he'll hit whatever first and just be like, smooth first time all the time.
I haven't thought of that guy forever. That guy was rad. That whole quote unquote scene was so fun back in the day for filming.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those guys were fun.
Yeah.
Drake was a badass.
Yeah.
Jesse and the whole crew.
Shit.
I
So
have all these eMOTOcons somewhere in VHS because I finally got cable, and then I found that show on Fuel, and then I would just record them. I don't know, when I was at school or whatever. And now it's weird because I'm talking to you, and I was watching Clint on them before I ever knew Clint, and it's just like a fucking. It was like that's what because I'm a little younger than Clint, so I was watching that, and then like how we were talking racing, you were kind of racing or freestyle. I'm kind of like I split the difference there. It was I'm like, oh, I could do something with this, and then there's but it's just cool watching all that. Like that was huge for me because nothing else on TV was like that.
Well, that was huge for freestyle, period. Because, like you said, that was it. That was
everything.
That was the only freestyle motocross show ever on TV, still to this day.
And there wasn't a whole lot of internet.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, it was before internet. That's the whole thing. It was fun. It was great. It was Fuel. You should see the pilot that I first turned in because it was so warped. And they're like, dude, if this is even come close to working, you got to pull it way down. And so we made the stupid token hottie, and we went a lot more cliche. But our pilot was so warped. It was so awesome. Yeah. I actually had Rusty Setzer, if you remember him. Yeah. He was like a crusty 2 or 3. He was just a lunatic. Oh, he was in Fresno. He played the fast food, whatever guy. We just always thought he was super funny. So he was actually supposed to be the M80 host, and they were just like, no way, that guy's still out. So they came up with the token hottie thing, which we beat that into the ground. But that was a fun chunk of years. It kind of takes sometimes being in the rearview mirror because at the time it just was you would have 12 episodes ahead of you and 6 segments each, and it just felt like such a, though it was fantastic, but it just, being sort of in charge of it, it was like a lot of stress. And only looking back when I went, oh yeah, we did this in Spain and did all this time in Australia, that you go, that was actually insanely great. At the time it just felt like really stressful. We were always like running behind, but we had a bunch of good years. And our crew was super fun. That was like, I miss those days. We had a good time. That was an awesome show.
So do you want to talk about the beginning of the movie, or do you want me to pitch you my idea?
Either. Let's do both. Let's start with, well, first let's give them a little bit of footing. So Fresno Smooth obviously is about 18 years ago now. And so recently we've been discussing and working on doing a second one. That was the initial plan, and Travis Pastrana was the first person I called, and he was immediately in, and Lindsay was going to be the love interest, and then I called Seth and Bubba, and they were in, and so, we were off to the races. But ended up hitting a roadblock, and I'm happy to tell you about it. But let's first go to you. And I'm very curious as to what your concept is. What's your pitch? And it gives me time to drink.
Okay. So there's a motocross track, and this guy works at the motocross track. And in my head, he was maybe a little bit. Either like a little bit slow, or just like he doesn't talk to everybody. He's not very sociable, so he just kind of keeps to himself. And finally, the cool guys that come to the motocross track are like, hey, we're going to have a party. Like, they always talk to him, but they actually invited him to a party. And it's going to be in a field adjacent to the motocross track that he works at. So he goes to the party, and he's hanging out with everybody. And during the party, he has to take a pee. So he walks into the woods in between the field and the motocross track. And as he's looking out over the motocross track, he sees some people, and he hears them talking, and they're talking about pods and machines coming to fertilize the pods. And he comes to realize that the pods are alien babies, and the machines are the motocross bikes coming to. They're fertilizing the pods by roosting dirt up onto the pods. It always needs dirt thrown up onto it to keep them fertilized or growing or whatever. So they're actually using the humans' machines, which is just motocross bikes, to fertilize the pods, to grow the aliens, to just feed us on our own planet. So he goes back to the party and he's trying to explain this to everybody at the party. And he's like, listen, we need to go. There's aliens. They're trying to take us over. And nobody will believe him. They're all laughing at him and stuff. And he wakes up the next morning in the field that the party was in. And he's like really worried. He's got to figure out how to explain to everybody about the aliens. And as he's trying to get out of there, he finds a mason jar and it says mushroom tea on it.
They say the first rule of creative writing is like you're not allowed to end it with "and it was all a dream," aka or it was all a mushroom trip.
Oh yeah.
Fuck
them.
Just because they say you can't, we've got to make this movie. I love it. Close Encounters meets on any Sunday. There you go.
There you go.
That's fantastic. That's pretty thought out. You're not just like, and then they, motocross track and they found the aliens. Like, you actually put some time into the pods.
Actually, what happened was I ate mushrooms in a field adjacent to our motocross track. And and there was hay bale covers over the hay bales, and the moon was really bright. And when I walked through the woods to take a pee, I was like, yo, those hay bales look fucked up. They look like fucking pods. There could be aliens in there.
Oh, that's good. That's funny.
Dude, I know you told me that story before, and when you mentioned it earlier, I couldn't remember at all what the fucking story was.
That's good. Hopefully nobody remembers, because when Adam puts it in the movie, they won't remember that they heard it.
Yeah. What I need to buy that. I need to buy that from you. We need to get it off the market and actually cancel this podcast so nobody else can see it.
I just need to be involved somehow.
Absolutely.
I'll hold the mic, whatever you need.
Dude, M80 and Fuel TV, that's so far back. If I Google Token Hotties, M80, Fuel TV, I can hardly find anything.
Well, you know why? It's because anytime there's a corporate switchover, they totally wipe out what came before them. And so, I can't remember what year it was, but about the 5th year of M80, there was a new owner, and they wanted to change the direction of Fuel, and they wanted to get it, because when we did it for all those years, it was skate, snowboard, freestyle motocross, surf. That was basically the 4. And the ratings started to drop, or it wasn't working as well, and so Fox Sports owned Fuel, and so they wanted to get into UFC and not NASCAR, but like car, sprint car rally car racing and stuff like that. Sort of trying to get a different crowd, and so they get a new CEO, and we all love that old CEO. I'm still friends with him, but they canned him and brought the new guy in, and what a new guy does is everything in development he's got to kill, just purely in a very Trump fashion, because if that happens to be a hit, he wasn't the one that found it. Yeah. And so what they kind of do is they just kill everything that was there. So we used to have like all the shows used to have like a lot of online presence, but when that new CEO came in, he just wiped them all out. All the shows, Casey and whatever, and First Hand, and like all that stuff, you can no longer find any of it. He just like systematically got them all removed, and then Fuel TV was that last little, But I have them all, and I've talked to him. I was like, hey, can I ever post any of that? And he said, sure. And then I'm just lazy, but some of those skits are pretty funny. And I would like to post some of the segments.
Yeah,
post
for
them.
sure.
Because I can't find shit.
And some of those guys, we got like, we basically interviewed everybody. And I got some classic stuff that was like, people way before they got big or respected in the sport. We got little Jeremy Lusk, you know, and pretty much most of those people. Lusk, I just remember because he had a checklist of things he wanted to do, and I was always like, man, I should go and refine that interview because it could be so inspiring, especially because of what happened. But I remember he was like, I'm going to learn to do a flip. I want to get on a tour, and I want to win X Games. And this was at a time when he had like the whip down, but he was good. Like I met him out at Ocotillo, and we were out filming, I think, Renner and maybe Miles. And like there was this guy just trying to keep up with him. He couldn't do any tricks, but he had, again, really good timing. And I thought he was Ezra Lusk, if you remember Ezra Lusk, the racer, because he had Lusk. I was like, I wonder if they're brothers, because he's really good. He just didn't have any tricks. And we just became friends with them, and we did like a blowing up on him, and he literally could do like a can and maybe a knack. And and he gave me that interview. And so like then he found, you know, we went with him to Camp Chuck, and he did the flip. I was like, all right, and I always remembered that. I go 1 down on the checklist, and then he got on a tour, and so I was like 2 down, and I remember this is a great moment. I saw him, and he won that X Games, and I saw him at a bar, but it was so busy, and he was getting so swamped, but he just held up 3 because he got all 3 of them. And it gave me chills, and now even talking about it, I was like, I have that footage, and I have everything to support it, but, you know, I don't know. Sometimes I just don't have time, but the archives are insane. It's like we really have everybody's kind of first interview, first time putting on the mic, and, you know, it was a fun era of up-and-coming freestyle guys.
Yeah. Well, now to get all the good up-and-comers, you got to go to Australia at the moment.
Yeah, well, we were going to Australia then, like at the heart of Bilko and Minnie and, you know, all those guys just first coming up. And
Minnie's still a bad man.
What's Cam's name? The double flip
Sinclair?
guy? Sinclair, yeah. That guy's a badass. But Australia was already starting to... Australia's, you know, that's way more of an FMX country than we have. That place was nuts. Even back in the day, we'd go on tours, and you know, the Krusty tour in Australia would just blow up, and they tried to pull that tour up here, and it just, you know, there was no enthusiasm. It was just Australia is just such an aggro country that they embrace it.
Yeah,
was always my feeling.
You know, we're so jaded here that it's like, you know, nobody gets that into stuff. I mean, especially here in New York, it's really hard in New Jersey to get anybody excited about anything or show that they care about any of your stuff, you know. All those other countries that I've been to, almost any other country I've been to, pretty much every other country I've been to, is way more enthusiastic and gets crazier than United States fans do.
Yeah. And I think 2010 was the last kind of project I did that had to do with the industry. Yeah. But I had done it for 15 years leading up to that, and that was always my thought whenever, you know, we traveled everywhere for M80. And, I mean, Australia was the top Australia. Yeah. Like, they knew the riders, like true fans, like they would research, they'd have signs made. You know, it was completely different world. But yeah, Spain was ridiculous, and France and Switzerland, everywhere was. You're right about that. You know, America was at that point kind of just getting over it. I think.
We're so cool.
Yeah, just because we're so badass.
You know, it's just like the whole motocross industry. The motocross industry in general, I think that most, and I didn't think of this fact, I think it was Chuck most likely, that most sports make money off of selling their jerseys. athletes' jerseys, team jerseys. And motocross, like Transworld started it, it's your pickup kit, and you're a douche if you wear your fucking jersey out, And we're losing, and then they're like, these guys are risking their lives, man. They deserve more money. And you're like, well, we're too fucking cool to buy a Chad Reed jersey or whatever and support, the whole industry.
Yeah.
I made an app. I wish
see me right now wearing my Clint Esposito jersey.
Yeah, sure.
Shit. I'd wait for it to be in the ER to steal that shit.
I made an app for iPhones, right? And I spent all this money to get it made and all this shit. And there's these little fucking jerks online. They're like, $1.99? Really? They're like, why don't you make it cheap so we could buy it? And I'm like, dude, if you even knew how much money I spent to do that, you little asshole. This is why nobody makes anything for you. This is why nobody makes any dirt bike shit.
What was the app?
It's eMOTOcons. So I got like a Loop Out Larry guy and a dude like endoing over the bars and words like
I probably would have been suckered in. I bought the Beetlejuice one.
I'm gonna text it to you after this.
I love it. Throws people for a loop. If any conversation gets too off track, I just throw them a Beetlejuice.
That's the difference when your target audience is like in their 30s or whatever compared to like 15.
Yeah.
15, they won't do it, even though they're not paying the phone bill. Once you get older, you're like, I'll fucking buy it. What is it? $5, $10, and you're drinking, you just buy it.
I mean, you just got to realize that when people, sometimes you need to support stuff. Like if a company sponsors motocross riders, I try and buy that oil or whatever just because, what I mean? I want to help people that are putting money into our sport.
Yeah.
But I think we're such a small market that's why nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, it sucks. It seems like it had this heyday where they couldn't get enough contests on TV as Gravity and Dew Tour and X Games was going, oh, we're not only doing X Games, we're doing X Games, whatever, China, and and there was just so many people buying for all their time, and so many sponsors, but it just everything goes in phases.
Yeah,
it seems like Travis's Nitro Circus is still killing it, but is anything else?
No. Well, Nitro Circus, I think, stepped in and took the place of X Fighters and like everything else, pretty much.
X Fighters used to be great. That was like the best event.
Yeah.
But no, they totally did.
Yeah, and it's like basically, and I can't think of a better way to word it, but it's kind of like a dumbed down FMX event, or it's a combined, because it's FMX along with the other sports. Like FMX on its own won't fill a building.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Like you could do monster truck shows 100,000 times across this country, and you will sell that fucker out
every time.
Yeah.
So all you gotta do is get bigger tires.
It gets real specific though. Like I'm into it. I've never been to Nuclear Cowboys. I bought tickets to that Krusty tour in the U.S. and then they canceled it like a month after we bought them.
Well, the Krusty tour is the same guy that's the Nitro Circus tour.
Yeah.
So that was a whole thing. It's like they just kind of shifted their focus, and I don't think the Krusty tour was able to pull it without Pora, in a sense.
Yeah, I heard some squabbles about that a little bit at the time,
but yeah.
Of course, somebody's gonna be mad.
Yeah, it sucks. It's really because the Krusty tour was fun. I mean, those guys were the OGs. They really, I'm really good friends with Freeman. We've worked on tons of stuff together, and I remember when that was all going down. But Pora did as much as Pora's gathered a lot of enemies over the years. You can't deny what he's brought to the table, and he was able to pull off those shows. So I think he found a real home with Travis that for whatever reason wasn't working as well with Krusty, and so.
Well, at this point, from what I've heard, I think that Travis doesn't own Nitro anymore. He's sold Nitro Circus, correct. But he is still the face of it for however many years or something like that. So that's why his new movies are action figures action figures. That's why it's a new movie name.
Yeah. They bought out all of the sponsors as well. I mean, because he was notoriously Red Bull for all those years.
Yeah.
And now he's nothing but Nitro. He just is head to toe Nitro.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I'm just winging it here, but
that had to be a fucking big deal, though.
Yeah.
Because all I know is some of those clips are insane. The guy that did the triple, I've watched that clip like 100 times. It's so fucking crazy. Yeah. One flip and he's still going up. One flip when he levels out, and one flip on the drop, and he just greases that landing. And the amount of times I've watched that and be like, the death potential is so unreal on that trick. It's death. It's truly like, total quadriplegic. Well, and we all have friends that have gone there, but the risk factor of that particular trick is so high that it's unbelievable. Yeah. I just still can't even believe it. And somebody just did a quad flip on a BMX bike, which is also insane. Ridiculous.
Did you see this?
Know where you're at?
Huh?
So how do you even know where you're at? You're just.
I know. They're just 4 flips on a BMX bike is insane.
So I did do a double on a mini bike of Travis's before, and you can actually feel. I thought I was just gonna hold on and just be like along for the ride, but I actually got to the point where I only did one, but I could feel where I was in each one, and I even revved it at the correct times to speed me up. So I mean, once you know how to flip, it's more of a feeling, but yeah, like. You have to do so many flips to get comfortable with doing doubles and then do a million doubles, and you know what I mean? Just to be comfortable, to have the wherewithal to be like, it's even a realm of possibility within my brain.
Yeah. So you're claiming 4 by the end of the year, right?
That's what I said.
Going for 4.
100 a day. By the end of the year, I'm going for 4.
I happened to be there the day Travis tried his first double into the foam pit.
Really?
Yeah. He nailed it like his first try. I have it. I got the video of it. But by the time we were able to publish that footage, he had already done it. X Games came and went. But his very, very first attempt, he nailed it. It would have been perfect. Guy's insane.
We were at his house, and he was trying that 720 thing off of the ramp.
The DP flip,
whatever the fuck it is, yeah. And he's trying maybe the no-handed one even, and he messed up twice in a row, and he gets out and he goes, "Gosh, why can't I get that?" And I'm like, "'Cause it's fucking impossible, Travis. Like, well, I don't even understand what in the fuck you are doing, or I don't even know what's going on. That's why you can't do it."
He knew.
I mean, he still hadn't landed it. Somebody will, but that's the level that guy's on. If he doesn't land something like that, he's frustrated.
Yeah, well, I think he landed it into the really soft land, whatever they built for Nitro, like the saw chip pile or whatever.
Yeah.
I think he kind of got that, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. I don't think he ever landed it pure to dirt.
I mean, I feel like a guy like Travis is not going to claim that until it's at some 100%. Kind of event somewhere, and he just lands on a fucking regular landing and rides away and does a double flip afterwards.
Yeah, that guy's insane the whole way through.
I think that his brain works at a higher level, speed than ours.
Yeah, he's not human. I mean, he's like the first thing I ever filmed was Terra Firma 2 Fox Racing. Well, I didn't film. I did the editing, but he was a little kid. There was a scene in that movie where it was like Carmichael, Stewart, and Pastrana, and it was the three young kids. And Travis could do a nothing but with one hand, so whatever that was called, whatever. And but he was already good, and then he was in that Krusty, and he blew up, and we put him in chapter 1 and stuff. And when I started doing M80, we would go out there for a week before X Games every year, and I would try to get as many segments out of Travis as I could. And the thing about Travis is not only was he had blown up, but he hadn't completely blown up yet, and he would always make us as media or people that filmed him always feel so like you're his best friend. Like, he would come and get you at the airport. He would talk to you, and he would just make you feel at home. And then you'd be in his grasp. And then he would be like, okay, he goes to sleep early while we stay up and drink. He's up at 7, or you're a pussy. And he's like got the day scheduled. He's gonna do FMX practice here. Then we're gonna crash this Jeep that he's put this roll bar on. Then there's going to be a birthday party here, and he's going to do a big speech. Then we're going to go cliff diving. And then, like, his days are so scheduled of insanity, it's like nonstop. And then, like, if it ever does stop for a second, who can eat this hot pepper? I'll give you $20. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And, and he would make, no matter who you were, whether you're a filmer or an old lady or a 3-year-old, if you were in town, he would like size you up, and in his Travis way, peer pressure the hell out of you until you did something that was just outside of what you wanted to do. And he would, he got me to flip a motorcycle into the foam pit, and and he did, and I would be like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm media. You're athlete. This is our relationship. And he's like, you want me to do an 80-foot, Superman seat grab backflip, but you won't even try to do a foam pit. And he would just drill you and drill you and drill you until you just finally, just to get him to shut up, be like, all right, I'll try. And then you do it and you feel good. But I remember every time I'd be flying home, and I jumped off like some kind of crazy cliff. Every time I'd be flying home, I'd just be so bruised and just so beat up from Travis's bullshit. But you feel good. But he really wasn't human. And he would one of the things, I mean, whatever. He put it in his documentary, so I don't feel bad saying it. But I remember I'd stay over there, and he would like have these panic attacks in his sleep, and you'd hear screaming, and you'd be like, I gotta go help him. Like he'd be running around his house, like kind of sleepwalking, screaming. And I guess he would just have these, like, every night he had these insane kind of nightmares, and everybody that knew him well knew about it. So all night he was just like having a real hard time sleeping and like having these panic attacks. And then all day he's just a smiley faced, insane, zero fear, crazy man. Like he just is not on the same level as the rest of us. He just, I don't know. Just it's hard to compute, but like the guy is not human.
He's miswired, but it seems to work for him. Where
yeah, and he's just genuinely nice, but he's such a wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't know. He's a dynamic guy that's very hard to explain. But I've always enjoyed all the times of filming him and hanging out, and, working on projects and things.
Yeah, he just sees everybody around him as entertainment, and like you said, if he doesn't have anything scheduled, then I've seen him take. So there's guys that ride motorcycles for a living and they can't backflip stuff, and it's just a mental barrier. Because I've seen that dude, like you said, take some lady that came to pick up her kid, and next thing you know, she's doing a fucking backflip into the fucking pit in the garage. She's coming rolling down the driveway into the fucking garage and hit this little jump into the pit. You know what I mean? Like, she just came to pick her kid up. And I'm like, this is just him all day long.
That's him. Just it doesn't matter who you are. It's like a vampire needs blood and he needs your
entertainment.
adrenaline.
Yeah.
and and he's so good at it because he's so thumbs up happy guy that he just makes you feel like the biggest pussy in the world if you don't try whatever his thing is.
I used to just tell, I'm like, he had that there's like a big ass step up in his backyard, which Hubert rebuilt, but originally he had built it, and it was like twice as tall, and instead of like now it's like a step up table. Before it was just two peaks, and they were twice as tall, and they were both peaky as hell, and the downside was like 70 feet long, like super steep, and there was just like a ravine at the bottom, and he's like, hit that, and I go, what? I'm like, I'm not hitting that, and I said, have you hit it? And he goes, no, and I was like, if Travis Pastrana has not jumped this fucking jump in his backyard, what makes you think I'm gonna try it? Like, let's be fucking serious here.
Yeah.
So then Hubert fixed it.
Try it out.
Huh?
So he's got to try it out. He just wants to see what he can get everybody else to do. Like, is everybody else as insane as me? Maybe he's doing like a reality check to see if he's crazy or if everybody else can be that crazy.
No, yeah, he just wants to see if you can hang in his crew. Like all those guys on that tour, I'm sure are maniacs. Like the main dudes that are there all the time and stay at his house, like Bink and a couple of those, like Sheeny, the guy that did the triple flip.
Yeah, that guy's crazy.
And some of those BMX or scooter guys, the one scooter guy that just kills everybody on everything, BMX bikes and shit like that. Like, they just go and stay there and just learn all kinds of shit because they're super talented and they're just fueled by Travis all day long.
Yeah. But they also, I mean, it's just insane the level that he gets all those guys at, that the injuries, I mean, there's a lot of injuries going on, but it's insane that there's not more. It's like he's got everybody so like pinned at the red level. It's crazy.
Well, you got to figure that guy's weeded through a lot of not like guys like me that were just like, fuck you, I'm not jumping that, or you know what I mean, that hurt themselves that didn't make the cut.
Yeah, at this point they know if they even step on that property what they're in for.
Yeah, but so people are still like, I'll give it a go, but they just don't make the cut. They're not talented enough to hang with Travis and try whatever he says. The people that he has around him now are dudes that have made it through the gauntlet, and he's like, go do a whatever, you know what I mean, 720 no-hand or whatever, and they're like, do it, you know, and he goes, okay, so now the next guy does it, you know, and that's where they're at now. They have a group of guys that are just will go for it and have good body awareness and all that shit. And like you said, I mean, a lot of injuries, but at this point, which obviously it's still an issue, but as far as being crazy and safe, like they have it at this point with the airbags and all that stuff. And Travis has the ability to make setups as safe as they can be to do shit that's not safe.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the videos are insane.
And Travis is still participating in most of it. So that's, I mean, when you're talking shit to somebody but you're doing it, that makes it that much harder to bitch out.
Well,
Travis is pretty much a made man. He can talk shit all the way until he's in a wheelchair and you're still going to take it.
Yeah.
Like he's proved himself. He's good.
People are
but
like,
he's still going for it.
Yeah.
His ankles are, I can't believe we're spending the whole time talking about Travis, but he is the man. But his ankles are so fucked up, he can't stand still and jump off to the ground. But you put him on a trampoline and he can do triple flips and things. Like, his body is so fucked up.
Yeah.
I think he truly doesn't feel pain. He never takes pain meds when he has his millions of surgeries. Like, I just think he doesn't have what the rest of us have as actual pain. I think any other human that had inherited his body and his nerve system would just be, like, unable to move. And, you know, he's able to, and he's able to do it without any drugs ever. And, you know, his body is so arthritis and locked up, but he just keeps it going. I don't know how he does it.
I got a question. So this Lindsay in Fresno Smooth to script. Is that his wife or what?
Okay, so let me give you the quick version of this. So the first idea, it just kind of came out of the blue that we should do a remake, and it took me. People have been saying that for a while, and even Travis had said, He called me up one time from a Nitro thing. He said they were all watching it, and he said, "Are you ever going to do a sequel?" And I said, "Why? Do you want to be in it, or you want to watch it?" He goes, "I would love to be in it," as though it was like above his level. And I'm like, "Dude, give me a break." But that stayed in my mind, and it was maybe a year later that I thought of an initial plot that would possibly work with a Fresno world and a Travis world. And that's when I called up Seth and Bubba and said, "Hey, if we were to roll, think of this, would you guys be down to do it again?" And of course they said yes. So I started working on a plot, and it took me a while, and I got an outline. I got something I was pretty happy with. I was shooting the shit with Travis all the time. Travis helped me write a ton of it. Lindsay was going to be his love interest that Metzger had done. And, we got to a point, I got Tony Little back. Emig and J-Bone were going to come back from the dead because, of course, they died in number 1. So I was going to have them like Obi-Wan and this is, kind of dream kind of scenario. And it was going to be 100% for people that like the Fresno. Ice-T was going to come back. Mike Ness didn't return my call, but he was the only one. Metzger said everybody else was down that we called. And it was a lot of them. And Tony Little, maybe I mentioned that. Like, he was completely down. I had expanded his part. His part was going to be good. Like, really good. And so I was fired up on it. But again, it was like, if Fresno Smooth hit this little niche, this was like going to be aiming for a niche of a niche. And, I pitched it all to Seth. And, after I'd been working on it with Travis, who couldn't have been happier. And, shooting it off with Bubba, I had a very small little crowd, and I met with Seth, and Seth was like, it just feels, like, and there were some limitations to making a Fresno 2. I wanted it to play to somebody new, but kind of still be an ode to the last one, and, nobody knew where Loke Dog was, and that's maybe the most famous, like, weird part of it, and, it just started feeling like, man, if we make this, is it really going to hit our potential, or it just started getting a little confusing. And Seth was like, I really don't want to be Seth Enslow in it, and it's just feeling like a repeat. And he's like, why don't we just take elements of it and make something new? And so at the moment he said that, I was really kind of frustrated. I'm like, I've spent a lot of time on this, but the more I sat on it, I just took a break for a couple months, and I was like, there's a lot of benefits to that. So I just let my mind start going, and, we started thinking of, like, let's just make it very similar so the people that know will know it's basically the same, but we don't have to clear the rights, and, it'll be its own thing. So if we make a sequel, like, we kind of get away from it, but everybody that knew Fresno Smooth will know it's the same thing. And I kind of got stuck in the middle because I wrote to Travis. I said, hey, we're thinking of making it called Baco, being basically the same but a new beginning. And Travis wrote back, and he said, I only want to do it if it's Fresno Smooth 2. So I went to Seth, and he goes, I only want to do it if it's not Fresno Smooth 2, but it can be wacky, wacky again. So I was really stuck in the middle, and it was sort of up to me. Do I go the Travis Fresno 2 that's a little more culty, and we had like a whole route where it's just going to be wild as hell and just as like you're on an acid trip as the last one, or the Seth route, which can still be over the top, but it was going to be a little more grounded. Like the movie that we both agreed on was the perfect mix was Slapshot, the Paul Newman hockey movie. Failed hockey team, they're down on their luck, his girl's about to leave him, and then of course it all goes crazy, mixed with a little bit of Animal House, especially towards the ending when they, no matter what, they're not going to get the fraternity together. So what do? They go and blow up the raid And so it just ends with the biggest like rock and roll fuck you ever. I always love Animal House. It's such a good ending. And so it's like the Travis route is like Fresno, completely wacky. The Seth route is like let's ground it a little bit more, have a little bit of a slow start, develop some characters, and then just unwind into this ending that's just like the most ridiculous thing of all time. And that's the route I went for. So I've been working with Seth, his manager Lofty, who is the one that got us Ice-T the first time around. He knows a lot of people, and don't say it out loud because I don't want to jinx us. I have the name of the person that we want to play the lead that we're going to pitch it to, but it's not confirmed. So even though that's on there, that's only for those readers to keep a flow. And the Lindsay Adams is purely because I got lazy and I never changed her name, but it may or may not be her. Our thought is after we get this script up and rolling of Baco, which is just as I'll come back to Travis when the time is right, and I think he'll do it. But at the initial time, he was like, Fresno Smooth gave me an out. Everybody knows it'll be fucked up. It won't hurt my, the Nitro name. And so, like, he was really like, if it can be Fresno Smooth 2, I'm doing it. And if it can't, I'm out. But I don't think that's. I think once we get the train rolling, he'll come back in a heartbeat. Yeah. And if not, we'll still make it.
Makes sense. I get what he's saying.
Yeah. So that was the dilemma. But I've had a blast working with these guys. I like the script better. It's a little more grounded than Fresno was. It won't have roller skating dreams, and again, it's like Slapshot and Animal House. It's within the realm of it maybe could happen, but still completely fucked up. And it's been fun reliving. The script writing process has been fun, and I love Seth. And working with Seth and Lofty has been a blast. And Bo Manley is a little bit in there as well, just because he's a freak and he's super good at dialogue and he's funny. So sometimes I throw stuff by him as well. But that's my little crew, and we're almost at the point where we've got the first completed script. So awesome. But you read Act 1.
Yeah, I actually doubled for Bo Manley and Bro.
Oh, no way. He did his, yeah. I'm sure he wants to broadcast that.
Yeah. Well, no, he posted pictures on his Instagram of the two of us standing there with the jerseys on and stuff before. He just wasn't riding at the time, so I just rode the ramps.
I get it.
But then Potter put his jersey on, and then they just used mostly footage of Potter. But the first, 5 minutes of the movie is me and Ed Rossi riding.
That's great. Yeah, I know that director that did Bro. He's cool.
Yeah, they were easy to work with. It was fun.
Yeah. Bo's hilarious. I've known that dude forever. He was like first Warped Tour kind of lunatic, but he had already kind of stopped riding competitively by the time we were doing M80, but we used to just use him as I used to have him go around and do interviews that we knew would just go stupid, never really trying to get interviews, but just have him just fuck around and you try to cut it into something. But he's just a character. He cracks me up. He's got he's got such a following for not. He doesn't ride really that much. He's just sort of grown. He was an OG in the very early second wave of freestyle motocross. Everybody knows who he is, and he's just sort of a character.
But he was gnarly back in the day. Like if you watch old videos, like him and
was gnarly. Was Morrison?
Yeah, that's who I was just gonna say. Him and Scummy and Twitch. All three of them as young dudes were just fucking going after it.
And way before anything was really popular. So it was they were the first guys hitting those ramp to the actual kicker, homemade, not dirt. Just the first, I think Mickey Diamond designed them, but the first ramp landings ever was like Carey Hart and those guys trying
Oh, dude. Yeah,
trying
Warped
to
Tour.
figure it out to be able to have something that could go with the Warped Tour.
Yeah.
That underpublicized little piece of FMX history.
Dude.
And that like they were trying to make them out of 4x8s like a skate ramp. And I think the very first time they tried it, Carey Hart's wheel stuck in. It just went right through it, threw him over the bars, like broken wrist. Like those guys got beat up trying to figure out a way to move ramp landings, from place to place.
If you
Bo
watch,
was definitely a part of that.
It's old like Moto XXXs or whatever from Warped Tour. They have footage at Warped Tour. Those guys, the landings that they're landing on have to only be like 8 foot tall.
Yeah.
Like they're so small.
Tiny. And then there was that whole wave where there was no like safety deck or foam. It was like some people were splitting it.
Well, I mean, I didn't have an airbag for a couple of years. I made a ramp, and I didn't have an airbag for probably a year or two. Nobody had them yet. That's how you ran them, son.
The first contest, if I remember correctly, like there was not the set distances yet. And so, like, every new course was, like, hit or miss. And there'd always be 2 guys just taken out right at the practices. Yeah. Just, I don't know.
I remember going to Warped Tour. Like, my buddies all went to concerts. I'm like, I don't want to go to concerts. And then I found out motocross was there. And I went, and it was windy as fuck. And it was, like, Manley, Morrison, somebody else. And, of course, like, they knew it was windy, so they weren't even planning on riding. They got wrecked. And we were like, 15-year-old kids talking shit to him. Manley's out of his mind wrecked. And fucking Morrison, he's like, all right. Because Manley was getting all fired up, getting mad at us because we were talking shit. So Morrison gets on and starts doing nose wheelies, like fucking 5th gear, just hammered. Like, I don't know how many feet. That just made my whole day. I was like, the whole reason I came to this fucking concert was to see you guys.
And you're just hammered.
I mean, we were halfway there too, but Manley, he was wound up. He was pissed. He was like throwing shit around, and then Morrison like played the mediator. He's like, hang on, guys. If I do some nose wheelies, I'm like, nose wheelies, they'll do it. We're good. Because we were like on the other side of the fence, so we were like talking shit, being instigators.
Yeah.
They're from the north.
Those guys were out of their mind back in the day. Both of those guys.
Big time. This was like, yeah, it was fun.
That Warped Tour was like pretty, gosh, man. There was Link Oggle was part of it. It was Link, Feist, Hart, Manley, Scummy. What a crew to like just take.
I want to say Deegan was at some too. I seen some footage of him at some.
Was he?
I thought so.
It was an unsupervised crew of maniacs.
Maniacs, absolutely.
Just like, hey, jump these dirt bikes if you feel like it, and yell at the kids.
Party with all these bands and been partying hardcore for 10 years.
I had talked to. They didn't have freestyle for a while, Warped Tour, and I talked to somebody, and they were like, "Yeah, we're not gonna have freestyle." they were just like, it was.
I mean, they're gonna cut it.
Yeah, they were like.
Crazy, too much hassle.
Like,
we got scooters coming in. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we're over it.
That's funny.
They can get the guys now. It's a different scenario.
Yeah.
They at least keep it.
I'll do the same tricks.
What's that?
I'll do a seat grab and a heel clicker, and get drunk and talk shit to the kids that are yelling at me because it's too windy. I could do that.
Yeah.
I'll just get drunk and gear up and say I can't ride and then yell at the kids.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they did
today.
I was like, Wendy, you pussies. They're like, get on the bike. I'm like, let me ride it. I would have fucking died.
Yo, the worst place I ever rode for shit like that was it was a off-road race. It wasn't like a GNCC, but it was the same type of thing. Yeah. And it rained, and we had metal ramps out in a field, and they're just like, you can't ride in the mud, and I'm like, I'm not riding through the woods, asshole. Like, I gotta jump fucking ramps with my tires all muddy and shit, and the ramp's gonna get muddy, and they're just like, I ride in the mud all the time. This is in West Virginia, and I'm like, one kid comes up and he goes, hey, on the flyer it said professional freestyle motocross riders.
Oh no!
He got you.
He got me good. I was just like, I don't know. I make my living doing this, so you. It sounds like a professional.
Yeah, that's the hardest one to defend. It's like, fuck you. Just smack him.
That's exactly what I did to Scubby and those guys that day. I was like, fuck
You kind of backtrack out of it. Well, I do this while I'm
Yeah.
for my kids. And,
I was like, should I just fight you or your dad? Where's your dad?
yeah. It says professional. Oh, fuck that kid. Oh, kid. That's out of control.
I literally looked around for his dad.
Got this whole thing going, cracked me up. You're like, are you what the fuck was it? It's like, there's people all over the world that hate me or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's are you famous? I'm like, well, I don't want to brag, but people all over the world dislike me.
Yeah. That was it. That's so funny. So how long have you known Kyle? How the hell? Where was that connection from?
So another kid that I went to school with from probably throughout high school at least, maybe before that even. Actually, so this kid it wasn't Kyle. Our mutual friend shows up at my driveway. I'm like 14 on a BMX bike. I had a jump in my backyard, so all these kids would just show up all summer. Like, where's the jump at? And I'm just like, it's just in my backyard. So this kid showed up. I knew him forever. And then I kept talking to him he always had good ideas. So I kept running stuff by him. I said I wanted to make a video. And then he says, I got this kid that, a friend of mine that does BMX videos. So when I met him, Kyle literally had a 45-second teaser for a BMX video that he had worked on for like 5 years.
That's awesome.
So that was it. That's all I saw. But my friend George knew Kyle well enough to be like, listen, he's been working on this video forever. It's still not done. All he has is a teaser. He says, but if you pay him, he will finish the video. And that was it. I paid him to make that video. And in the midst of filming my first video, he saw your ad. And then he sent you the footage from the first video.
I can't even remember having an ad. That's crazy.
He said, maybe you didn't. Maybe somebody else did. But he said he talked to you. I think he said Craigslist or some shit like that. And he ended up looking, and it said... footage wanted for extreme sports footage wanted for Fox Sports TV show or something like that.
Oh, no. Okay, it was before M80. We put an ad out for the No Fear video that was purely like, we'll give you gear for your crash footage if you have something gnarly. Just because we want to make a crash section. That's the only ad I can actually remember.
We really need to pull Kyle in here to.
Mine is for editors. Sometimes we put ads out for editors, but never for real filmers. But maybe
I don't know.
Kyle, classic though. That guy's great. It's funny.
So I actually kind of had a run-in with Kyle prior to actually knowing who he was. So I went to this. He lived like a town over or two over in Jefferson. And I ended up going...
You got drinking, by the way? I'm trying to stay true to my six-pack deal.
Yeah. Of course Nick's drinking. We can't even see him. He's for sure just pounding stuff
He's
over there.
He's the whole time.
No, I'm on my fourth beer for the podcast.
He looks like his picture right now. Just the whole time.
That's what I keep hoping. Is that what it's going to look like on YouTube as well?
Yeah.
Drinking?
So I go to this party, and it's this girl's house, and I'm just there with this kid that actually introduced us, and apparently it's Kyle's on-off high school girlfriend, and everybody's at the party hanging out, and then Kyle's like flipping out in the driveway or something, or like running around the house like looking for her or some shit. There was like all this drama where Kyle wasn't even supposed to be at the party, and he just showed up and started like stalking her and stuff. And I'm like, I later found out that was Kyle. George was like, hey man, do you remember we were at that party at the girl's house? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, that was Kyle. And I'm like, he's the crazy guy yelling in the driveway for fucking like an hour at her.
Oh no. Yeah. See, I never knew that. I don't know. I don't want to go too deep in.
Yeah.
I never knew. I knew he would get. We would have a lot of fun when we got hammered, but we all did. But later I heard, maybe a few issues here or something. I don't know.
Kyle gets
I just remember the good times.
A little out of control.
That guy was fun as hell to, have on the team and go party and.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude, I spent.
You drive me crazy with the footage sometimes, though. I'd be like, here's exactly how you frame this. And you would do it different. I'm like, are you just trying to, like, piss me off? Draw a little picture and follow it.
He would film, like, fuck, dude. We'd film for a week. And he's like, once it's edited down, I have 46 seconds. And I'm like, are you fucking joking me? We rode for like 50 hours this week. How do you have under a minute of usable footage? Like, what the fuck was going on all day long? He's like, that's it. We need more places. And I'm like, I can't. There's only so many places in the whole state, man.
Is this why when I suggested that we all just take cell phone video and just film everything and then you make a movie, you're like, no, because we'll just get video of you guys puking and fucking drinking. Clint shut it down real quick. He's like, no, not doing it. I was like, I think it'd be awesome.
Listen, that wasn't cell phone at the time.
Hey, so you've had Chuck pretty good, right?
Yeah, I know Chuck real good.
Yeah, his listening to his thing was pretty funny.
You listen to his podcast?
Yeah.
So
weren't you guys in business together or something like that?
I mean, we've worked on projects together, but we've talked about starting some businesses, and then he's always had like things pick up, like that motopeds thing. That took all of his time, and then he got on that Canvas. Now Canvas is taking off. So I mean, he always helps me out a lot with anything I need help with and stuff like that. I call him if I ever have ideas. I bounce him off Chuck. So, but he was telling us about you influencing them to act like he was hurt in the back of that van, which I thought that's the first time I ever saw Chuck. That's my introduction to Chuck.
Oh, No Fear Chapter 1 video?
That's it.
Yeah. He was correct in the fact that we back faked it, but he was incorrect in one thing he said. He goes, the whole thing was he actually said, because we sat down with him, and he wanted to be, he didn't want us to use the crash footage because okay, first of all, Chuck's a badass, and those jumps were gnarly for the day. They were like huge, and he knew McGrath was coming, and he was begging us to let him hit it first. He just wanted to hit it first so bad, and I remember that. We're like, Chuck, even if you hit it first, McGrath's going to come and hit it, and the way we edit it, you're never going to know. You're never going to know who hits it when. Like, it's never going to show that you're first. And, but but go for it. And he kept going and he kept crashing. And we did get it from a couple of angles. And, the footage was so good. And everybody loved that crusty one, Seth. But we didn't want to do it. We kept trying to not be crusty. Like, Krusty started a formula that Triple X and S&P, like, everybody kind of did exactly that, but their own. And we had a little bit of budget, and we had helicopters, and we're like, how can we not be exactly like Krusty? So our crash segment, I wanted to do like Chuck was going to be our Seth in a way. Like he just was wadding himself, but he made it because he was good too. Like he would eventually get it, and he had said to me, I go like, but you got to realize, like, we got way more crash footage than the footage where you make it, and when you make it, we've got Rourke and McGrath and all these like heavy hitters also making it. So, like, is it okay with you if I show the crash footage? And he said to me, as long as you make it, you can show whatever you want. And I said, don't say anything that epic unless I have a camera on you, because that's the quote I needed. So we recreated that quote as though he said it naturally. So that really was the quote that started it. And then we were on a roll, and it's like, well, in the meantime, let's just up the drama, which I realize in action sports video is sort of a no-no. And if he hadn't, it's kind of lame, but at the same point, if he hadn't fucking told anybody, it would have rolled.
Whatever.
It is what it is. We did it, and I thought it made it kind of funny, and it allowed us to give Chuck a full segment, and that whole like he never made it, haha, or whatever. Yeah. Gave us an ability to then show him making it, and if that shot actually ends and it rolls past McGrath, and McGrath's nodding approval, I'm like, that's fucking solid. Yeah. So if it shows you got a lot of heart, and we're able to build the story by faking it a little bit, what's not faked is the fact that you ate shit, you did it first, you eventually made it, and you got respect of the highest level fucking rider at the time. So that's how I looked at it.
Yeah.
It made it a little bit fun. And I remember he was like, dude, you just made me a crash test dummy. I'm like, the same point, like, people remember your name, it was just one of those things. But
no, I remembered Chuck after that. I knew who Chuck was.
And we became buddies. Like, we filmed so many things over the years, and his whole when he did that, when he went to the X Games with that trick, I was with him when he had the concept. I was with him at Travis's. That whole thing had more drama than was ever shown behind the scenes. Yeah. Like he basically had this trick in the back of his head, and he's like, "I'm gonna go out to Travis's because foam pits were rare at that time, and I'm gonna try it." I was, that was the same trip that Travis did the first double backflip, and so I grabbed Chuck. We get airline tickets. We go out there and we go to Travis's, and Chuck starts practicing it. He was wild carded into the X Games because Travis sent Tabley the footage after he did it into the foam pit. After that, he fucked up his shoulder, and he got accepted into the X Games, and he couldn't ride again until the day of. And so, like, he had no more practice in the middle. And it was truly, like, he was such a wild card. Nobody knew his name. I got him Fox. I called Fox. I go, he's either going to get gold medal or he's going to the hospital. And they said, we'll give him, if he wears the stuff, we'll give him a deal where he gets almost no money up front, but if he wins the gold, we'll give him, like a huge incentive thing. So I got him that deal. So he got on Fox, and he went out there, and we basically, he's so fragile. Everybody was making sure he was like ushered into the venue, okay, and he was on that podium, and I'm like, here it goes, and he's either truly going to go to the hospital or he's going to win this thing, and he nailed it, and he greased the landing, and it was just the Cinderella story of FMX if there ever was one. Yeah. It was so badass. The dude was living out of his van. He had just no money at the time. He was dead broke.
Yeah. He went to Travis's, and he didn't have any money. Didn't he borrow money or some shit to get there, and was just living on Travis's couch or whatever? And
yeah. I think we flew out together. Maybe not. Either way, he was definitely dead broke, and he had this concept for that trick, and he did it in the foam pit a couple of times, and then he dislocated his shoulder. And that was it. I think it was a month. It was like 3 weeks or some brutal amount of time from him getting accepted to the actual event where he hadn't ridden at all.
Yeah.
So it was like he was so cold when he went to the actual X Games.
It
was insane that he pulled it.
I think that it may have helped. I mean, obviously that long, but like the following year, after he had landed it there, he went to maybe summer. I was at his house and he was landing them in the pit. And then he started trying to like he was watching footage of himself doing it and he was trying to tweak the trick and he got to a point where he got lost and he wasn't coming fully around, like he wasn't landing them. And I'm like, I know for myself, if I really try and concentrate on certain elements of something too much, I end up screwing myself up. You need to think about it less and let your body just do it. I understand what he was trying to do. He was trying to make it look better, but I think you can overthink things sometimes.
Yeah. And I had actually told him he shouldn't do that because at best that trick was so landmark in history. I mean, there was a double backflip and chucks. Like those were like, well, maybe debatably Deegan's 360, but that was such a huge trick. And then it felt like so much longer later that he wanted to go for it for best trick. And I think it was maybe the 70 foot or whatever, but it just felt like, Chuck, if you do that again, it's just going to say at best they're given a gold because the sport hasn't progressed.
Right.
And I really thought he shouldn't do it because he had a lot of good stuff. He had other inventive things, or at least a spin on it. I think but leading up to it, he's just, I'm going for it again. And then is all he did is he made, because he wasn't 100% consistent. Chuck's thing was never consistency. He would always dead sail or something. Chuck's thing was like he was really inventive, and when he would get something, he would get it really good. Like he was the best turn down guy in the whole industry for a little while. Like he's ridiculously talented, fragile, and inconsistent. And it was like what he did is he dirtied his accomplishment, in my opinion. And I was like, I don't know if you should go for that. And he did, and then he ate shit on it, and it just whatever, sort of like a wah wah. But I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. It was just sort of a shame because he had such a highlight. I wish he just sort of left it untouched.
Well, that's the thing is that so anybody that does a trick first, your eventual goal is to do anything every day as a normal trick. So that's how you want to perceive it. But unfortunately, a lot of times the guy that's the first to do it, that is their pinnacle, is doing it initially. And then other people come in and continue it. Like, let's take Chuck with the body burial. He did one. He made it happen. That was like you said, landmark moment in the sport. Let's take Kerry Hart with the backflip.
Yeah.
He did one backflip at the time, landmark. Nobody thought it was possible. Same thing with Chuck. Nobody thought it was possible. And they broke that mental barrier. And a lot of times that is the hard part. That is the pinnacle of it. It's a shame that a guy like Kerry didn't get to go and do the shows and make the money doing the flip, the 60 grand or whatever it was when the very first guy, Metzger, went and got paid to do a show. You know what I mean? Kerry never got to do that. But he was the guy that broke the mental barrier and made all these other guys go, oh shit, I can do that. And that's what Chuck did for the body burial. And unfortunately for guys like that, it's such a mental hurdle to climb that mountain and to do it and to get over that's their mental break. They can't like reset and just take that as a normal trick. I'm going to do this 10, 20 times a day, every day. You know what I mean? It's hard to go from...
built up already to be this, because you had to be the guy to do it, so you already built it up to be like, this is the fucking trick. Just like we were talking with the quarter pipe and Parsons. And it's like, well, now how many years has it been? And we're just now getting to the point where there's like 3 guys who are like, okay, this is normal. But that one took a while.
Yeah. Well, and probably with something like that is that you need to have that set up in order to do that. Versus like A trick,
Yes.
especially a trick you can do off of a normal ramp. I mean, even into a foam pit nowadays. Obviously, foam pits are more common. But if you
Shit, I've never seen one. Ever.
you live in a cornfield, bro.
I talked about jumping into a pile of corn.
See.
We discussed jumping into corn. It's a fire hazard.
So is foam, trust me.
You guys seen the movie It?
No.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Is it a cornfield?
No, but I was looking up Stephen King's movies, and he did the Children of the Cornfield movie.
Fuck
So.
it. My backyard is a cornfield. Like, I'm in town, but the country is my backyard.
Nice.
I can't have that. My wife won't sleep.
So how do you guys know each other?
I don't know.
What's the origin of the podcast here?
I saw him on M80, and then I started writing him like letters, but like anonymous. Hey, dude, I want to meet you someday.
You had a bunch of segments. What else did we do? I feel like there was more than that.
Well, I did the pegs initially, and then I did it again on season 2 at Better Pegs. And we did I was on the Youngstown episode. Youngstown.
Right there. I went there and it was fucking shut down.
Yeah, it rained.
Last time I saw Youngstown, it was under snow, and they're like, no, it's closed down.
I did that. So on M80, we did that one. I called it the Get Out of the Cold Jam. And everybody came down to Georgia and rode. I had like a contest at a motocross track. I built all the jumps up and stuff. And actually, Paris Rosen, the guy that first did the front flip, was at that contest just as a random kid.
That was the guy that first did a front flip?
Yeah. And
I always thought it was Jacko Strong.
No, he's the one that like can just
Pick for it.
actually do it off just a normal ramp whenever. But
He's a maniac.
yeah, this is the first guy that actually like the first person to do it off of a regular ramp, just regular gap. But that was, I'm pretty sure, a segment on M80. And that ended up turning into the amateur contest series, which is actually how I met Nick. I was holding amateur freestyle contests. Nick started showing up. And he was fun to drink with. And he could ride. So we started hiring him for shows.
Perfect.
So then once I...
In heaven.
Huh?
It was a match made in heaven.
There you go. And then I started doing this, or I was thinking about doing it. Or actually, I did start it. I started doing like first just Supercross companions, and I couldn't find people to sit down and watch Supercross with me every Saturday night. And I worked all week, and I was like, I need to be able to do something. So then I needed a partner to make sure that I did it every week.
Yeah.
And I needed somebody that would drink with me and be fun to talk to about dirt bikes. So I knew Nick was all that.
He knew that I had a drinking problem, and then like I had a family. So like I need an excuse to fucking bolt every once in a while. He's like, Nick, you're up for this. I'm like, yeah, I got the podcast, babe. I got to go. It's Tuesday. Every Tuesday I get to eat.
That's great.
I'm like,
who's on deck? What else you guys got cooking?
I keep, I rode him a couple times trying to get Metzger. But,
you should go to get Metzger. I went and saw him in Big Bear just recently.
Yeah.
You should do Lankoggle. He's funny. He's great.
Yeah. I was thinking I need to do Doug Parsons.
Parsons would be good.
I want to get Bilko's dad, not Bilko. I want to get his dad.
Bilko's a nut. Dude, Bilko's would be fucking sweet.
I want dad.
We need to get
Danielson, if he's in the right mood, he's always funny.
We need to get him and his dad on there.
Who else would be good?
Problem is, it's too early for them to drink.
Yeah, right.
No, fuck that. I drink in the morning. If somebody falls asleep, hey, drink with me. I'd be like, done. Yeah, because we had James Stevens on, right?
Who?
In Australia. He's like, I'm drinking tea. I can't. We're like, well, fucking, I thought you were going to drink with us. He's like, no, I'm drinking tea. It's 11 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah, it's Joe Stevens.
Whatever the fuck his name is,
yeah,
right?
But he's a trainer. He doesn't train himself. He just trains other people. So he needs to not be drunk, I guess. I don't know. I don't have like a ton. I'm not very good at organization. I was actually so excited about this one that I didn't even contact anybody about next week yet.
Good answer.
I started reading the script at work, and then my dad came and swiped it from me. He's like, what is this? I'm like, you seen Fresno Smooth? He's like, no, let me read it. And he starts reading Fresno Smooth 2, and he doesn't get any of it.
It's not, yeah, but it's not. It's not Fresno Smooth 2.
Well, it's Baco or whatever the fuck it is. I was trying to explain it to him.
Yeah. Got it.
He hadn't seen the first one, but he was liking it, whatever it was. I think because I printed it on his printer, he's like, I get to read this. Give it to me.
Yeah.
He's going to burn it. Don't worry. I told him.
Okay, good.
Burn it.
Well, it's the time is coming, so we'll see if we can get that thing to fly. I'm quite enjoying the ending at this point. So.
Well, how are we gonna work in the mushroom aliens, or is that just gonna be its own movie?
Shit, I do have a point in the middle where we need like a dream sequence, and I think I can work it in. This is all new. This is all coming at me quick, but I think, honestly, I think this could be what we needed to do to take it to the next level.
Once I said it to you, and you go, I'm like, it's its own movie, and you go, will it work as a scene in a movie that's already happening? I thought about your style of movie, and I was like, yes.
Thank you. The problem I'm going to have, I think, with Baco is the Fresno Smooth heads are so ready for like it to be, and it's a little more paced. It's slowly building. Hopefully, you can tell by the end of that Act 1, it's about to get fucking stupid. But it's just not right out of the gates insanity. That was what we wrote for Fresno too, but this one just kind of made it a little more not so insane right up front.
Why don't you just have an insane dream sequence in the beginning?
Kick them off with the pods and
No, like midgets fucking shooting people over donuts or whatever.
Yeah. I decided to do a departure from the midget. You know what happened with that midget thing?
Listen, you were employing midgets. I don't care how anybody wants to.
It was fantastic.
Break this down.
I found Fresno Smooth on YouTube last night, and I was gonna make my whole family fucking watch it, but there's no audio to it because they blocked it.
You're lucky.
There's like 20 people that have it on the internet.
They blocked all the midget or all the audio, and my wife just sees the little people jumping around. She's like, "What the fuck are we watching?"
You don't listen.
Please watch this at dinner.
Here's a warning.
It was definitely a little fucking wacky first time, and it was before something about Mary actually brought things up to a little bit higher level of being fucking wacky, like the cum in the hair and stuff. Before that, it's hard to think of now. But, there was not gross out humor at all. We were a little ahead of our time and having Bubba actually puke and some things like that. And I was like, people are going to fucking trip. I was like a John Waters fan, I was like, we're going to melt some people's minds. But whatever. It took a little while to, I think, maybe kick in. And so by that time, other things were evolving and it didn't quite have as much insanity as maybe it felt when we were first filming, but we really were just on this tear.
Yeah, but she got edited out.
That was where do we start the movie? We actually shot the part where Bubba just snaps awake, and we didn't have written why does he snap awake, and so it was well, what would a cop be dreaming about? And then it just went off the rails from there. It was donuts. But Let's just start it on a whole musical about donuts, and then at that point, it's like, let's make it like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and then it's like, let's just cast a bunch of midgets. The reason, and they have machine guns, like, and it all seems so sane to me. Like at this point now, when I look back and I know all the feedback of that movie, I go, yeah, we were a little fucking off the rails. It did. The funny thing about Fresno Smooth, and at the time, it didn't fucking seem that insane to me. I was that insane. I'm just like trying to like. It didn't seem that fucking nuts. Just whatever we thought of. Well, yeah, let's do it. My college movie went over well, and no one ever doubted anything. And like this thing, like whatever fucking dumb things we think of, let's just shoot it, and it'll all work out. But the midget thing, and I know we're getting over our time, but the midget thing.
We have no time.
Ended up biting me in the ass in a weird way because Wee Man was in it, if you remember, and that was pre-Jackass, and I just met him on the boardwalk, and he was skating, and he was really good, and he was with this other dude, it was also they ended up being in Fresno, and he was just a badass, and I loved Wee Man. Right away we clicked, and I go, you got to be in this movie, we're doing, it's not a skating movie, it's motocross, but I need a bunch of extra people, and I want you to be in it. And, like, he was my buddy and would always hang out at my house, and he was, like, in whatever scenes. And at that time, like, we didn't have iPhone, so he'd run my cell phone, and he'd be, like, taking all my calls for me and stuff. And I loved the guy. And we got to the premiere, and he saw that opening, and I truly think it offended him. And he was, like, so cold to me after that, and it took me a while to put it all together, and I'm like, he just think, like, it put this whole, like, edge on, like, hey, throw a midget in it, and it made me kind of go, maybe that pissed him off, and he just thought that maybe we were friends just because he's short or, whatever the fuck, and I was actually bummed on it for a while, and kind of made me, every time I watch that opening, I'm like, shit, I know that pissed Wee Man off, so it sort of sucked. But at the time, it was fun as fuck to film, and all the guys that were in it were cool. But it just made me think I'm not redoing that kind of scene again.
Yeah. Listen, I say to people all the time, why you gotta be creeping?
You get some. And
most people just stare at me.
Just came out as well, and that's where we like got the all that shit. And yo, what's up? No, that came from Boys in the Hood.
How about my favorite line from that? One of my favorite lines. Sloppy seconds, right?
Yeah, that was me. I'll take credit for that. I was right out of college, and we'd always say that shit. That was here's a little Fresno Smooth factoid. Loke Dog was never cast to be in the movie. The real reason that was at the part of the scene that was like, yo, it's the dope ride, and Jeremy McGrath's a bitch to me. It was supposed to just be a pure poser. And we got Fabio, if you remember, do you know who that is? Like the model, long-haired douche.
Can't believe it's not butter.
Yeah. Fabio was a big motocross fanatic and like a big fan of Fox Sports. I called him up, I'm like, hey, will you play like a poser? Just like the lame guy that's like all glammed out. That scene where she's like, oh, photo op or whatever, that was actually supposed to be Fabio. Called the Screen Actors Guild, and they said, you can't do an indie movie. They called me and said, if you put Fabio in this movie, we'll shut you down, blah, blah, blah. So we're out there on set and, like, pissed, and Fabio's not coming. And so, like, literally, this is the fucking truth. Loke Dog was selling bags. And so we were filming the Ron Jeremy scenes and the whole fast food scenes with Seth. This dude was selling bags, and we kept, like, laughing on that dude's, like, selling bags. And so we went and got him and said, hey, will you act in our movie? So Loke Dog was a true drug dealer that we grabbed off the streets. And that was the true buddy that said, right, And that's the guy we grabbed first, but he was so shitty at acting that, like, we grabbed his buddy my bad. we grabbed the guy that just said, it's right, sloppy seconds, right? Like, he was the guy we first cast. He sucked, so we grabbed his friend Loke Dog, and Loke Dog was killing it. So we shot it that way and just had the friend just echo him like word, and then like everybody, we got home and saw that footage, and we were all laughing so hard. We're like, we got to re-find that guy Loke Dog. Like, he's got to be the reason Jeff Emig doesn't show up to the last party, because Jeff Emig went to Lake Havasu and didn't tell us and didn't show up at the last party. So we're like, there's got to be a reason he didn't show up for the last party. Let's have Loke Dog kill him, and we'll solve the plot. So that's
wait. So Emig was supposed to be at the party where, dude, there's so much good stuff in that movie. The long neck periscope, Jimmy Button.
Yeah, and so and Emig was supposed to be there for that scene, to be in the celebration scene, but he couldn't make it, and neither could J-Bone, so they didn't show up. And so at that point, we loved Loke Dog, and they didn't show up, and that's why we had the whole, like, when we shot the freestyle contest, there was no freestyle contest before that freestyle contest, by the way. There was nothing. There wasn't even that 4-leaf thing in Vegas yet. So in a sense, we got a freestyle. We invented the concept of a freestyle contest before there ever was one.
You did that. So you just set that up for the movie.
And it was at the Glen Helen, some kind of Glen Helen race, and they were totally supportive, and they said, you can use our crowd. In between our race, we have a bunch of jumps, and we made believe like it was a freestyle contest. We got the shots with the crowds. We came back later and brought Jerry Bernardo and shot all the like interview stuff. But yeah, the whole reason that we had Emig die was because he didn't show up to the conclusion party scene. So we made Sink Mars dress like Loke Dog, paint his neck black, and do the tricks with a black neck, and that's how it was just all crazy.
I knew it was Sink.
We like sliced in our heads at the time. It seemed like perfect ending. You know, he got killed, and so that's why it's not a party. And I remember Fox Racing is like, they only got at this point we were so distant from them, we were so like just rogue, and they in like our weekly meetings had become like these like just, you know, distant phone calls. We were trying to avoid them, and they're like, we've heard that you've killed Jeff Emig. There was a message I had like, you cannot kill Jeff Emig in the movie. And we called back and said we already did.
Oh, fuck, dude. There's so much good stuff in that. Like, somebody goes, what's it about? And I'm like, there's so many plot lines. Like, it's so good. There's so much stuff in there.
I looked for Fresno Smooth online. I couldn't find it. And I knew my buddy had it, but he has it on VHS. I was working, so I couldn't go watch it. Like, I'd seen it, but, like, when the first time is like, when he talked about it, he's like, you've seen Fresno Smooth, right? I'm like, yeah, I've seen it. And then it's like, you watch it, it's like somebody swiped a porn from their parents. And then it's like, yeah, you gotta see this shit. And then you watch it. Like, every time, it's just fucking, it's like a hidden classic.
Well, here's the thing. Now, I had a version a long time ago on VHS. Well, obviously, they were all on VHS. But I got a version, and it had, just for instance, I think there was another scene that got deleted, but it had Metzger, when they were in the bowling alley, he banged Kitty Frillhausen or whatever on the washing machine.
Yes. Dude,
and he's like...
It's a very rare version. Yeah.
I lost it. It's fucking gone. I'm very upset about that. That's what I was going to ask you.
The version I watched. I bet Forberger has that.
It actually, the movie had such a nightmare run. When that Fox thing happened, it got picked up by that company called the Shooting Gallery that had done Sling Blade and a bunch of Niagara and a bunch of pretty decent movies. and they knew how to distribute. And at that point, it was like you want to get into. It was so long ago. It was like getting into Blockbuster was like the big, thing you aim for, and they were going to get us into all the Blockbusters, and I couldn't have been more excited. And what ended up happening is that whole company had a class action lawsuit after we got finally all the paperwork signed from Fox and everything else. It was done deal, and then it went down in the. The bank seized all assets from that company, including ours, and we hadn't been released yet. So we were furious. We're like, you can't seize our assets. You haven't even put it out officially. It's all we had out was like a little trickle to the moto industry. And so, like, the thing just hit like so many walls. It was ridiculous, but I can't remember where I was going with all that.
I feel like that's why it's a cult classic.
If they had made it to Blockbuster, I would have been the 14-year-old kid copying it, DVD, like VHS to VHS player.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When it did get first banned, we gave out the copies to Seth and to the guys at Krusty and stuff, and just basically there was like a whole bootleg era for a little while.
I think got one.
That's the one you got, which was, and that's where I was going with this. And so it got bootlegged for about a year, and so there's a lot of people with dubs of dubs before it got officially quote unquote released. And so the ones that had that one, there was like 4 scenes and some songs that we had to switch, and like There Goes the Neighborhood from Ice-T's band we couldn't clear, and that scene you're talking about on the washing machine. Shit, there was a few other scenes.
I was gonna say there was once I got that second one,
we couldn't keep because it was too aggressive.
So do you have an original version of it?
I do. I have it.
I need it.
I do, and I could easily post it at this point. I don't mind.
You need to.
Yeah, I mean it's only about 3 or 4 scenes. Oh, the Seth Nightmare when he gets the oven fumes.
Yeah.
It's all different.
And he passes out into there.
Yeah, the old one. Oh, the old one had to do with a ripoff of Clockwork Orange, and it was they thought they would sue us, so we had to reshoot all that, the like Seth Nightmare thing, so we wouldn't get sued. I can't remember what other scenes were different.
What movies, that footage, a lot of that footage from that movie I've seen in, like, what was it, Wrathchild? Did you work on Wrathchild?
Wrathchild came after it.
Yeah, but so one of them...
I did kind of. At that point, I had an offer to write another scripted thing, and Troy was my quote-unquote partner. And so, like, he was basically doing Wrathchild. I wrote what the structure of Wrathchild, how it should be chopped, and there shouldn't be fade-ins and fade-outs. And so, like, really, but Troy, not to take away from Troy, he's a genius, and he was very good at helicopter and photography and stuff. Structurally, I helped get the idea for Wrathchild up and rolling, and then we worked again together for No Fear Chapter 1, but really Wrathchild was, other than the initial concept of it, was Troy pretty much did that one without me. I did some of the things. I did some of the stuff with Seth, and like that whole like heavy metal parking lot scene. Just a few of the elements, but not. I wouldn't. That was his movie, not mine.
The heavy metal parking lot scene.
Yeah.
What would you do if you saw Seth Enzo? I'd jump his bone.
That was all me. He was like, "How can we introduce Seth?" And I had just seen that thing. I'm like, "What?" I got an idea.
Yo, and then he's like, Iron Maiden, Sabbath, they all fucking rule. All that other shit belongs on fucking Mars, man.
Yeah, exactly. Man, you got that down.
Dude, I've watched...
Hey, another little trivia. Do you know who the little kid was? It was in that... I worked on that little kid thing.
It was Alessi.
The kid that breaks down the room. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah, it was Michael
You know who
Lessie.
that was? Yeah. Okay. There you go. That was
Come on.
Leslie when he was so young.
You're talking my era, son. I remember all this shit. Like, I watched, Wrathchild and Chapter 1 are obviously Krusty one. Those are probably 3 of my favorite movies, period. Like, I like the Terra Firmas, but they were too, like you said, family-oriented or whatever. I like the ones that were a little more kind of fucked up. Like, Chapter 1 with the Carrie's sitting in the room the whole time, and the clock's tick-tock, 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 and he's just got the cigarette burns all the way down to the fucking butt, and, like, that's...
You know what that was a rip-off of?
No, I don't.
The Pink Floyd movie.
I don't think I've seen it. Which one?
It's not 100% of a rip-off, but it like that idea of that like guy with the cigarette. It was a little bit. It's called just called the movie Pink Floyd The Wall. Okay. And then we were scouting for something, and I saw this ad in Vegas, and it was like a hotel getting demolished. So I went and talked to the owner, and I said, "Hey, can we since you're demolishing it anyways, can we film in here?" And he gave us like a really good rate, so we were able to build up that hotel room and just have Hart destroy it.
Awesome. Now I heard he got some shit from sponsors too, right? About that one because of the cigarette.
I didn't know that about the cigarette.
And then maybe him smashing the room. I guess that may be bullshit. I don't know. I didn't hear it from.
I never heard of that.
I'm not sure where I actually heard that, but that was something that I heard. He got some they gave him shit for it. Although, I figure if anybody had cool enough sponsor, it would probably be Carrie, because he always had, like, the coolest sponsors. Like, Split Clothes and fucking Hurley.
A lot of people got shit for Fresno. I didn't know that many people got shit for Chapter 1, but when I was making the calls all these years later for Fresno and everybody was jumping right on board, the hardest one to get was J-Bone. And I had heard, like, there's no fucking way you're going to get him. So I went to Supercross, and I just pinned him. And I'm like, I know that, you know, I know that you got every reason to say no, but it wouldn't be the same if we didn't at least have you for a scene. And since you're dead in the first one, we can have you come back as Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of ghost. And, you know, I totally talked him into it. But he told me that, like, because he was professional, he was James Stewart, like, he's been the professional mechanic for so many people after him.
Now he's a manager of the whole team.
He's the NASCAR mechanic.
He's a legit badass. And he says every time he would do, he says almost every race he's got people yelling at him, "Start every day with fat ball."
Every time we see him, like,
cooks and filthy white trash hookers, and he's like, it haunts him.
Talk about, like, being all serious with his shirt all buttoned up. That's all I can think about is eMOTOcons.
Filthy white trash hookers.
Serial B, son. eMOTOcons.
Yeah.
I just posted that not too long ago. It had J-Bone maybe, or whoever's at the end holding. I think it was J-Bone. He's holding the thing. And underneath it, I had it like in a Snapchat filter. It says start every day with a fat bowl. And my comment was me posting like people care what I have for breakfast.
I texted Forberger, who I was talking to tonight at the podcast. He's like, get some filthy white trash hookers and some Jack and Cokes. Every road trip starts with that. Like, there's no option.
You're gonna go to Fresno. We're gonna go to Fresno. We're gonna get some fat ass Jack and Cokes and hit on some filthy white trash hookers.
So are you.
Dude, what's his name? Tony Hawk. He's like, that guy's got great abs.
Yeah. Hawk was down to be in the sequel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll try to get him into Baco. And he was another surprise because I had heard that he wasn't the biggest fan of the first one. So him and Emig, who I knew had a lot of backlash, were the two that I thought maybe would be a little bit difficult They were both flying colors in. Tony Little was like, you don't even know how many people come up to me. I saw around Jeremy at a bar. He was down. Everybody was down except for Mike Ness. That's the only person that I think was basically over it. Everybody else was ready to come back. And I'm going to work them all into Baco. So.
You figure he would have cared the least, right? Like, because what the hell does Mike Ness care? Like, that doesn't hurt his reputation.
I don't know. I mean, he didn't write back. He just didn't write back. But everybody else did right away. Yeah. So I don't know.
So what is like?
It's still being grabbed, but at the same point, there's so many other people. You know.
What's the running title for what's gonna be Fresno Smooth? Is it Baco or what?
It's Baco, and again, it's like a little bit. It's not gonna have Loc Dog and Ice T in that scenario. We got the part for Ice T, and it's in the third act, and it's good. But and he's totally not the normal Ice T. We haven't pitched this to him yet, but I feel very confident he'll do it. But he's real out of character. He isn't the typical tough gangster that would be the obvious way to pitch him.
What about a tough cop?
Yeah, CSI.
He's done that a million times too. We got him as opposite of body count as you could go. I still gotta pitch it to him, but I know he's gonna do it, and he's gonna have fun with it, and he's gonna kill it. It's gonna be rad.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna have to keep in touch because we need to work that.
2 hours. This is like the record, right?
2 hours? No, we've been like 2:15, 2:20, I think.
Oh, okay.
But I'm usually like.
We could all do some math and just rock this thing. And then when I was 4,
for like an hour.
Thing is, we're gonna have to start taking pee breaks because I'm about ready to explode.
No, I'm good. Let's
you didn't even know I snuck away for a fucking pee break. Nobody even noticed. That's the best part about me not being in the video. I could just run away, pee real quick.
We were calling for you. We noticed. It really fucked up the show for a little bit.
Yeah. I know. When I leave, it just goes to shit.
We went silent. We were like, wait, where's Nick?
I ruined the podcast single-handedly, right?
Everybody logs off right at that point where we're just waiting for you to return from your pee.
They're like, where's that guy who we don't know who the fuck he is? Doesn't even have video.
Yeah, but most people are watching or like listening on audio anyway on the iTunes, so nobody knows you.
Yeah, that's right. Well, video doesn't help.
Couldn't even get the video rocking. We didn't even get to see the cornfields. Sad about this.
Yeah, and where are you? How come no trains have passed by?
Because I'm at my house, dude.
Oh, I thought you were only like 200 yards from work.
Work's internet is, I don't know, man.
Right, but my point is, it's.
You know what? I've had a bunch of beers right now. I'm over talking about fucking internet.
But it's far enough away from work where you can't hear the train.
I'm still on fucking Token Hotties. I'm still Googling Token Hotties. I've been doing it since he mentioned it.
Well, that's why your internet doesn't fucking work. You're Googling.
Well, I got T-Mobile on the phone.
Oh. It's probably still...
It goes all the way through the corn.
Stealing your internet. All right, well, let's... Dude, it's been awesome. I've been super excited about it. We got to figure out, what do you want me to do? Hold microphones or something on the movie?
Yeah. Well, just when I get the full script, give me some feedback, and then, if we can get this thing up and rolling, come out, we'll have you holding a microphone.
There you go. Perfect.
I want to see Clint.
How you can Bo Manley's stuntman officially, and I'll keep Potter the fuck off the set.
Yeah, that's right. Fuck you, Potter. You get out of here.
That should be my t-shirt. Fuck you, Potter.
You heard me there first.
I love Potter, but I will fucking make that shirt. Fuck you, Potter.
It's just me.
Clint got this job. Bo Manley needs one stuntman. That's Clint.
Dude, hopefully Bo. I don't really ride anymore, so hopefully Bo Manley's stunt double just needs to like ride down
All
the
right, you're
road and
back
skid
to
out.
microphone Potter. You're back in. And you say, fuck you, Clint.
Hey, you know there's some guys up in Baco though, like riders. Are you gonna?
Yeah.
Have you thought about?
There's old Baco troops from back in the day. I just like that name, and then I look, and then actually Seth looked it up when we were shooting the shit of like if we reinvented it, what would we do? And to save some of the elements of what was gonna be Fresno Smooth too. And he sent me this like funny thing. If you look it up on the Urban Dictionary, there's a Baco, and it's like. The whole definition was so funny. It's like, it's got to be a movie about this, and just the name Baco makes you already go, it's gonna be fucked up. Yeah. It's got that like perfect. I don't know. I think it's a good title. I would want to see something called Baco.
I'm ready for it. Let's fucking make it happen. Let's do it.
Maybe you need to.
I'm actually meeting Seth and Lofty this Saturday, and that's going to be the first full read through, and then of course there's got to be another draft. So, like the first draft is just a fucking nightmare to get through, but I got all the plot elements and I love the ending, and so we're gonna round table it, and I think it's gonna be Bo, Seth, and Lofty, and we'll see how it goes, and then from there fine tune it, and then we'll start kicking ass once we're happy with the script.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for letting us read the.
I got a little hammered. I drank my whole sixer. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, almost.
It's 4.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for letting.
I got one more, but I'll drink next.
A handful of pages of the Baco script.
Cool. Well, send me your notes or your thoughts. I'd appreciate it, because very few people have read it, and you know, it does all help. If anything's confusing or whatever your thoughts are, send them to me.
Awesome. Will do.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Good talking to you. It's been fun.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Later.
I'll talk to you guys later.
Right.